Hi, my name is Haley Comet and welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet where we discuss all things astrology and today all things planets squaring the nodes. What it means if in your astrological natal chart you see that the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto is squaring the North Node or squaring the South Node. This is a commonly overlooked part of your natal chart, and I can't understand why because it is so paramount. If you do not understand that planet, both how it held you back within your South Node and how you were meant to pull it in within your North Node, those lessons embodied by the planet of where your square is happening are doomed to be repeated. What we don't understand, we will repeat. So understanding the skip steps of past incarnations, if that is a concept that resonates, and how it is that you're pulling in those lessons into this lifetime is of paramount importance. And if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I'm a bit of a North Node nerd. On my channel, I'll link this all in the description, but I have a playlist that takes you North Node by every single sign, North Node by every single house. I have a playlist of every single North Node sign house combination. So your unique North Node by sign and house, I've chatted about it in the nuances of how they interact together. I've also done planets conjoining the North Node. I've done planets conjoining the South Node. So it feels only right that we are exploring planets squaring the nodes, also known as planets bending the nodes, because each of these pieces, understanding your nodal axis, both the signs, the houses, the planets conjoining, as well as the squares that it's making, are fundamental in encouraging yourself to grow, encouraging yourself to anchor in these themes, encouraging yourself to pull from past experiences, natural talents that you have, but continue to pull yourself out of the comfort zone. So within this video, we will discuss what it means if you see that you have planets squaring the nodes, also called bending the nodes. We'll talk about the differences and the intricacies if that planet is on the north bending and the south bending. Don't worry, I'll explain it all. And then we'll take it planet by planet to understand the nuances of that planet and how you are meant to both appreciate the lessons that it gave you within prior incarnations, as well as pull it into where you are taking yourself out of your comfort zone in this lifetime, in this experience. I want to make a quick note that throughout the course of this video, I will be talking about past lifetimes. If that is not a concept that resonates, no worries at all. I want you to sub in early in life. You could just think about it in early in life, you're in that South Node energy, and as you grow and evolve as a human being, you are essentially balancing it with the North Node call. And if I earn any of your engagement, I would deeply appreciate a like, a comment, a share, a subscription. Little nudges like that are so essential for me to continue to create cosmic content, and I'm so grateful that you are here, getting dialed into the magic and the nuances of your unique natal chart. So let's go ahead and talk about planets bending the nodes. So throughout the course of this video, I will be using the words squaring and bending interchangeably. They mean the same thing. I also want you to note that if anything is squaring the South Node, it's automatically squaring the North Node and vice versa. North Node and South Node are always opposite one another. So if a planet is squaring one planet, it's also squaring the other. So it's this tension around where we've been and where we've going. So let's dive deeper into it. As I highlighted in my study, a concept that's always resonated with me is the thought process of thinking of our South Node as past lives, prior incarnations. Understanding your South Node helps you understand where you have natural gifts, natural abilities, but where your comfort zone is. And I'm of the belief that it's not about abandoning the South Node and going to the North Node, but rather pulling in those talents and attributes while also being conscious that that can be an energy that we get a little stuck in, right? We're already experts in that arena. Our growth, evolving as a human being, that's described by the North Node. When you look at your North Node, you might start sweating. I know, I most certainly did when I did my North Node sign. I mean, I was sweating in this chair, I was panicking, I was freaking out. It should be an energy that makes you a little uncomfortable because it's new for your soul. If you believe in past lives, it's essentially where you're being asked to grow within this soul. You've done the work in the South Node arena. A new terrain is opening up to you. So where does that leave squares? Because squares within astrology are a point of tension. It's also a point of action. So if we have a planet that is both squaring where we've been and where we're going, it describes essentially skipped steps. Energy that we did not fully integrate within past incarnations, and that is essential to pull into our lifetime here or where it is that we are growing here. When it comes to planets bending, I always think of it as essentially if you fail a test, right? The next test that you take, you're a little bit more wiser. You understand how the questions are phrased. You understand what tripped you up the last time. Was it a timing issue? Was it a studying issue, right? You go into it with deeper awareness, deeper insight. Does that mean you're going to pass the second time? Not necessarily, but you're all the wiser for it. So there are parts of the planet square, so whatever planet you see is squaring the North Node, that naturally come to you. And this will make more sense when we take it planet by planet, but there will be experiences with that planet and themes that sort of echo out within your reality where it's like, am I in a loop? Why does the same situation keep coming up with different names and different faces? The same thread of where I've been feeling, whatever it is, where I've been feeling not visible, right? Just playing out in different workplaces. Where I've been feeling abandoned, playing out in different relationships. Like certain threads that we've come in. Like a lot of times when I talk to people who have planets bending, there is a sensation around, it's almost like deja vu. Like getting in one's own way, like feeling stuck around, this is just always how it is for me. And feeling stuck in this loop around, it's just how it is for me, it's just how it is for me. But in this lifetime, the circumstances are aligning for you to be able to break that loop essentially and not fall victim to what ensnared you in prior incarnations. And what gets tricky about the square is that when it comes to the planet itself, sometimes we overdid it with that planet, right? So let's say you see, I'll go into more depth in a moment, but let's say you see Moon is squaring the nodes. There could have been in past incarnations, you were overly emotional, overly attached, overly sensitive to the general public, or perhaps you were cold. There was something around the moon, the lunar energy, whatever that planet is, that was not integrated properly, whether it was in excess or not enough. There was something around that planet was not leveraged properly. And that planet is important for you to pull into your North Node. And I do want to note that you'll want to look at your particular houses and signs. So that's why I let you know at the beginning of the video all of the different resources that I have, because it's basically like a puzzle piece. Like you'll need to understand, let's say you have North Node in Taurus in the first house, conjoining Mercury, squaring Pluto. Like you will want to take all those pieces. Okay, what does Taurus mean? Plus first house, plus Mercury, plus Pluto bending, right? You'll want to understand all those pieces because when we talk about bending, ultimately it's pointing at the North Node. We're meant to pull this planet into the North Node, leverage this energy as healthfully and as helpfully as possible towards that North Node purpose. So look at the North Node, look at what it's asking you to do, where it's asking you to grow. Understand that the planets that we'll chat through, these bended planets, the nodal benders, understand them, yes, by the planetary influence that I'll talk about, but also take into account what sign is it, what house is it in. That can also designate where we run up into this energy. And so we get more nuance into planetary squares when we consider if it is at the north bending or at the south bending. And this indicates whether that planet is more important for our south node or for our north node. So let's talk about how to figure out if this planet is at the north bending or the south bending. And you may have some at the north, some at the south. So it's not one or the other, but you'll want to understand in processing those planets, understanding if it's north bending, it's more influential for the north node. If it's south bending, it's more influential for the south node. And we'll talk about the difference between them. So I'm going to show you on screen because this part can get a little tricky, but it does provide a lot of nuance to how that planetary bending is showing up for you. So I'll show you an example to how to find if your planet is north bending or south bending. So more influential by the north node or the south node. To do that, we will use the website Astro.com. Now, the default of Astro.com is that it doesn't automatically show the south node. It's always opposite the north node. If that's helpful, just go across the chart. But for the sake of the example, I'm going to show you how to set the descending node, the south node, in your chart to make it easier to do this technique. So what you'll do, you'll go to extended chart settings, input your birth information, and under additional info, you'll see include and you'll hit descending node. So then that way you'll see the south node. So here, bam, you'll get a picture like this. So I want you to find the north node. If you were to move clockwise and you hit the planet bending first, that is south bending. So planets that are south bending will be 90 degrees from the north node, right? Moving clockwise. So if you move clockwise and you hit the planet there, bam, you know it's at the south bending. If the planet is 270 degrees away, so we see it's all the way over here, bam, that is at the north bending. So we see within this example, North Node in Taurus squaring Mars in Leo, this is at the north bending because we had to go all the way to the other side to hit that when we're moving clockwise from the North Node. There's a couple different ways to do it. That's just the way that mentally I always process. But now that we know that it's north bending or south bending, you might have some of both. Let's talk about what that means. So planets that are at the northern bending are more influential for the North Node. This signals more so external, tangible, essentially impacts within our world. So oftentimes you will feel that planet very much echoed into your external world. You pull into that planet. You might pull into that planet as it relates to your career. You might pull it into how it is that you make money. You might pull it into your relationships. It's very external. It's very visible. The energy of North Node comes down to gain, right? It comes down to material gain. So having a unquenchable thirst and hunger for security. So when it comes to planets at the northern bending, that is an energy and archetype that you are likely going to manifest very externally within your world, which is why it's important to harness, right? Not get stuck in the same loops that you have in prior incarnations, if that's a concept that resonates. South bending are more so spiritual placements. There are sacrificial themes sometimes with South Node. You could feel like you have to sacrifice certain arenas of that planet. You could feel that you have to offer it up to the collective, offer some sort of spiritual tone to it, or it could just be internally processing. I think of the difference. South bending is more so internal. North bending is more so external, right? Both are important to harness and to master, but south more so for internal lens, a spiritual lens, maybe even a psychology lens, whereas at the north bending, it's more so external. It's felt very visibly as part of our life arc. So now we know what these nodal benders mean. Let's go ahead and take it planet by planet. So if you see that the sun is squaring your north node, your south node, essentially bending the nodes, this reading is for you. In past lifetimes, you mismanaged ego. You mismanaged identity. You made it too much about you. And in this lifetime, there will be elements, obviously, you are the star of your own show. You're the star of your own life. It's not saying you need to necessarily hide, because it is squaring the north node. So you will need to pull in some of these solar themes, right? Around visibility, around ego, around leadership. But it's very important that your ego does not get the better of you in this lifetime. It feels that there was a theme of squandering opportunities because you allowed your pride to get in the way. And that kept you from fulfilling your full potential. Whether it was an energy around living a life that was very grandiose, very look at me, maybe you were a celebrity or something where, you know, the almost self-concept of who it was that you were got in the way of what it was that you were even trying to do. You lost the plot. You let the attention and the adoration sort of get to your head to a certain degree. And now we need to consider the sun is squaring the north node. So a lot of you may have natural authoritative qualities. You may be a natural leader. You may have natural creativity. You may have a natural authoritative quality about yourself around being able to take up space. People pay attention to you, but it must be leveraged ethically in this lifetime. And understanding that, yes, sun is part of it. So you are a leader. You are here to be seen. But it's bigger than you is the part. It's bigger than you. Staying devoted to the mission. Staying devoted to your calling. And knowing that, yes, you will be powerful around spearheading and cheerleading and supporting what it is that you're working towards. But it is bigger than you. Now, for some of you, because like I said, sometimes we go to excess with the planet that's bending, sometimes not enough. And when it comes to sun, you could have struggled. Maybe you didn't arise to the call to be visible. And in this lifetime, you are feeling called to be more visible. Maybe in past lives, you heard the call around where you were being guided to support, but you actually bowed down. You didn't believe in yourself. You didn't allow yourself to be seen. So for you, this story could more so around being able to push yourself out there to understand, I have something to add to this collective, right? I have something, my impact, my energy, my aura, my life force, whatever it is that you want to call it, there's something about it that can impact other people or impact my soul's calling. And it's up to me to be able to get more comfortable being visible. Some of you, there was a addiction to validation, liking applause, liking liking other people's validation. Maybe that's where you lost the plot, is wanting to do things that would make you feel adored. Maybe you hold yourself back from being visible because you don't want to be disliked. But with this energy of Sun, again, you're pulling into North Node. So there's something around your creativity. There's something around your leadership that is essentially helpful for you to chisel, but for the right reasons, and essentially having the right aims and continually being able to allow your qualities to be visible. Right? To really lead, to set the example, to not allow yourself to be corrupted by attention or by validation with others, to not allow your life to be carved by where you will get the most applause, to pull in those solar themes in order to be the best leader that you can, to be the best example that you can. This will not resonate for everybody, but sometimes Sun can speak to paternal themes. So there can be certain karma that you're playing out as it relates to paternal themes in some fashion, in some way. And also when it comes to solar energy squaring the South Node, it's really important not to feel that your worth is tied to, the father paternal energy that you came from. Like again, your destiny is in your hands. Square is a harsh aspect. So there can be certain hesitations around, I couldn't possibly, or there can be certain self-worth and issues or confidence issues because of a father figure of some sort. And it's really important to understand, you are building your future. You are not defined by the past. Now, let's talk about what it means if it's at the north bending or at the south bending. So let's start with north bending. So if you have Sun at the north bending, this is the very external one. Okay, this is very much about being seen, around being comfortable being seen, allowing your creations to be seen, around developing healthy ego. Okay, and it's going to show up very externally. It's very important for your life purpose. So you could be somebody who is a creator. You could be someone who's a leader. You could be someone who's a manager. It's important for you to chisel this solar energy. It's important for you to get comfortable being visible, comfortable putting yourself out there in a very external way. If you have Sun at the south bending, this is more so energy for you internally. There can be a call that you need to sacrifice your own ego for a greater good. You may need to do some work as it relates to behind the scenes. Some of you are doing essentially confidence work underneath the surface. It's not so much feeling like you have to get your adoration or validation from others. For some of you, it's around building your confidence from the inside out, because especially if you're at the south bending, your lack of confidence could have held you back. So squares can sometimes be challenging because it can either indicate an excess that we're here to temper or not having enough of it. So I will say at the south bending, it does feel like something around to learn confidence for yourself or for your spiritual growth, or for some of you, maybe understanding it's bigger than me. It's bigger than me. It's about my contributions to the collective. It's about being a team player. It's about being a spiritual being. It's about releasing the addiction to applause and to validation because it is playing out in a more internal lens. So if you see within your astrological natal chart that the moon is squaring the north node, it's squaring the south node, it's essentially a nodal bender, this reading is for you. So you mismanaged this lunar energy within a past life, and you are essentially being asked to channel it. And there's a little bit more heaviness around it because, when you fail a test, you go into the second round with a little bit more pressure. You're like, okay, I messed that up last time. I really have some pressure on me. So sometimes certain karmic experiences can come our way that really make us do this work. There can be certain karma as it plays out with emotions. And like I said, with squares, it's a little tricky because it was either an excess of lunar energy or not enough. So if you channeled this excess of lunar energy, you allowed your emotions to run the show. Your intuition, your paranoia really infiltrated and impacted many of your life decisions, and many of it was ungrounded. When it comes to this lunar energy, you could have been somebody who was so attached to how things look in regards to the general public, or so scared of what the general public perceived you that you didn't reach your full potential. There could have been nurturing issues, whether this plays out within maternal figures, whether this plays out within nourishment, okay, whether this plays out within land. There were essentially parts to your journey within past lifetimes where you did not feel safe, where you did not feel emotionally safe, where you felt like you did not have what you needed for nourishment. And it was like this bottomless hunger around wanting more love, more safety, more stability, and it just was unquenchable. And sometimes you had a tendency to cling to things, even if they did not serve you, because you were so craving stability, right? So you had a tendency to cling to the past. You had a tendency to cling to partnerships. You had a tendency to cling to your emotions, cling to nostalgia, rather than boldly marching towards the future. Now, some individuals where they didn't channel the moon is that they did not tap into their emotions. So with the moon squaring, there can be a desire within this lifetime to really use our emotions as data, to trust our intuition. Maybe there was such a lack of nourishment that there was just like a shutting off around not wanting to rely on anybody, not wanting to trust anybody, not wanting to feel anything, like almost just needing to project this energy around everything's fine. Like when we consider moon squaring, it's almost like two different, you know, like almost trauma coping mechanisms. Like one being on the excessive side around like really craving comfort and stability so much that we get really, really emotional and we're clinging to people, right? Around, please take care of me, I can't take care of myself. But on the other side, sometimes we deal with trauma around shutting ourselves down, around, I felt so abandoned that I don't let anybody in, right? I don't need anything, I'm fine, don't worry about me. So contemplate which resonates for you. Sometimes squares can be tough because we can either feel it in abundance or not so much. But what I will say is that you're meant to kind of channel healthy expressions of the moon. Being able to self-soothe, learn to self-soothe, learn to take care of your emotional landscape, using your emotional landscape as data without allowing paranoia to infiltrate, being able to leverage your intuition as a skill, maybe even in some cases working with nourishment in some way, working in hospitality with the general public, with land in some way, and really being able to tap into perhaps even being someone who was very nurturing. Maybe there was a call in a past life to be a mother and you didn't answer the call, and maybe in this lifetime you're being guided to. Or there can be certain karma that does play out with a mother figure within this life, and really being able to channel and chisel emotions in a healthy way, to be a compassionate person without allowing it to infiltrate and impact everything that you do, to understand that emotions are not a weakness. Let's give this more depth by understanding the northern bending versus the southern bending. If you're in the northern bending, that would describe more people who work with the moon in their external reality. You could be really, really drawn to therapy, wanting to nurture people, caretaking. You could be drawn to wanting to work with land, real estate. You can be a personality, something in entertainment, general public. You're being asked to use this moon energy. And I just want to take a little side note. Moon in astrology governs general public, and I know it feels counterintuitive because moon is very sacred, but think about it. Celebrities are people who just like intuitively, like instinctively, there's something that we like resonate with them, or we just like them, or we feel resonate with them, or they create art that we resonate with, right? And so oftentimes if you have moon at the northern bending, you are meant to essentially use your way of being able to be a reflector for society, being able to resonate with part of society in order to be some sort of socialite, some sort of entrepreneur, some sort of celebrity. Not everybody, but some of you will. And also with moon, it could also be someone who's an artist who puts their emotions into art, somebody who's a mother, as I said, this moon call happening very externally, as well as a cook, a chef, healing your nourishment issues, working with land, real estate. Again, I just say jobs because that's a very literal description of external, but again, these lunar themes could play out very visibly within your world, in your relationships with other people, any sort of abandonment issues, any sort of coping by being very avoidant, like again, that will kind of echo out within your external reality. Now at the southern bending, it's more so the sacrificial energy. So when you have the moon, you could feel called to want to nurture people who are disenfranchised in some way, pour your nurturing into people who need it. You can be quite a mystic. Part of your journey is around understanding your intuition and being able to feel into messages for the general public without having to take ownership of them yourself, perhaps. As well as when you have moon at the southern bending, you could internally be working through your abandonment issues or your nourishment issues. I don't mean to sound condescending when I say issues. I just mean that can be a life theme that you are experiencing a lot of growth in. And it's more so internal. It's more so under the surface. It's more so for your personal journey. Maybe not other people are privy to it. As well as if you have moon square self node, there can be certain energies where you feel like you pour into people who don't deserve it, or you don't feel that it's ever reflected back to you. I want to let you know the universe sees you, okay? And karma always balances itself out. Part of planets in the southern bending is that there is a sacrificial energy where we are doing it for the collective or doing it for this higher purpose, right? And so a lot of times when you have moon there, you could feel like, wow, I put all this nurturing into people who don't appreciate it, right? Or I don't get anything in return. I want to let you know that karmically you will be rewarded, okay? When we talk about north nodes, we're really talking about karma. So just understand everything will even out. With Moon, sometimes there could be this energy around nurturing people who don't return it, or pouring ourselves into things that feel like it goes nowhere because the energy of South Node, it disappears, right? It's not physical. It's very spiritual. So I want to let you know that the universe sees all, right? It balances all. And part of your journey in this lifetime is to be able to use your emotional sensitivity and intelligence for the right reasons. Because that's the thing with squares. It's like a planet that we are here to master and chisel and refine and excavate. So oftentimes lunar nodal bending people are quite emotionally sensitive. They're very responsive. They're very intuitive. They're people that the general public just resonates with and gets. But understanding it's something to be refined and excavated. If you have Mercury bending the nodes, squaring the north node, squaring the south node, this reading is for you. And when it comes to Mercury, Mercury is a planet of intellect, it's a planet of thought processing. And having Mercury squaring indicates within a past lifetime, you did not use your words appropriately. You might have used your words or your language to deceive. You might have used them to lie. You might have used them to manipulate. And in this lifetime, you are here to be a powerful speaker, but you must learn that the words that you use can be a tool or they can be a weapon. And you mismanaged them in the past, okay? You mismanaged them. You use your words for smear campaigns. You used your words for lies. You used your words for deceit. And in this lifetime, it's really important that you chisel this Mercury energy constructively, realizing the power of your words. That words, and particularly your words in your mind, it could be a weapon or a tool. It could be a tool to empower. It could be a tool to educate. Or it could be a tool to destroy, to mislead, to deceive. Mercury is very trickster energy. So there could have been something within a past lifetime that you were not honest. You used your words to deceive. And in this lifetime, it's important for you to be honest. Either you underuse the Mercury message around not speaking your truth, not speaking up. You did not chisel and refine the mind and the voice. So you just kept quiet. You kept quiet, you kept quiet, you kept quiet. In this lifetime, the universe is conspiring for you to speak up and use your words intentionally. You could have not learned much in past lifetimes, like not been open to learning from others, conversing to others. You could have really feared. You could have not been interested in education, interested in learning. In this lifetime, you are meant to learn, right? And if you overuse Mercury, you could have been someone who used your words to intimidate, to mislead. As I highlighted, you could have lived a life where it was so in the mind that it wasn't balanced by the soul or anything of that nature. And you forgot the plot. You lost the plot. In that when it comes to Mercury, it's about the communicator. So like you, whenever somebody has Mercury on the nodes, I'm like, you are a cosmic communicator. You have something to share. But you need to understand how powerful words are and how they can be used maliciously. So whether you spread gossip, spread slander, didn't speak up about something that you knew you needed to speak up about, you need to understand the power of your voice around using it intentionally, around speaking up when you need to, and around refining your message to make it as powerful as possible, and being conscious of things such as fear-mongering, being conscious of things such as gossip, being conscious of things where words can ruin people's lives. Words are not just words. And you didn't understand that within a past lifetime. Whether you did not speak up, that's also, karmic debt that you're paying, or you spoke too much. You told other people's secrets. You said something that wasn't to. You threw someone else under the bus. You used deception to get yourself out of situations. You've got to rise out of people. You're meant to use your words ethically within this lifetime. If you have this with the north bending, this would describe somebody who uses their words in a very external way within their life. So essentially, you use your words within your profession. You are a writer. You are a communicator. You are on YouTube. You have a podcast. You use your words essentially as something very external. Obviously, we all talk, right? But something about having Mercury bending on the north bending, there's something that echoes out in a very external way within your reality. You are meant to chisel your words, your organizational ability as a career, and stay open, stay learning. That's another part of Mercury. Mercury is around chiseling our intellect, being open to learn, because some people underutilize their Mercury. They weren't open to learn, right? They weren't teachable, or they weren't curious about the human experience. If you have it at the south bending, you are understanding the power of the language as it relates to how it is that you talk to yourself, your internal script. Because just as I was saying, the mind and words in general can be a tool or a weapon. You need to understand that within your own being. because having Mercury at the south bending can indicate somebody who has to understand the power of their thoughts, and maybe even the power of their thoughts as it relates to their spiritual journey, how it is that you frame experiences. With Mercury at the sacrificial energy, there can be something about your words that you give away to the collective, or that you offer to the collective, things that resonate to people in a deep level, but maybe not necessarily something that has your name on it or something of that nature. Maybe you write things that are of a very spiritual way, or your writing includes spirituality in some way. And maybe writing is just something you do for yourself. It's not so external, it's not so visible. Maybe it just helps you understand where it is that you've been stuck and how it is that you're getting yourself out of those ruts in this lifetime. If you have Venus bending the nodes, so essentially Venus squaring the north node, Venus squaring the south node, this reading is for you, and you are here to essentially successfully leverage the power of Venus, which is the power of love. When you have Venus square, there was an energy of Venus where it was either underdeveloped or it was overdeveloped. So I'm going to take you on a journey through both. If it was underdeveloped, you were not able to create loving relationships within past lifetimes. You were not able to have healthy connections. Particularly feminine qualities could have been very challenging. You may have never felt like you really got your true worth. You might have felt like you were not valued within past lifetimes. You might have felt like you did not have the material resources in order to survive and thrive. With Venus, you might have not really gotten the opportunity to enjoy life or to enjoy life's beauty. There could have been energy around all work and no play and no enjoyment. You could have pushed away love. There could have been an energy around as soon as I reach my goals, as soon as I reach my goals, as soon as I reach my goals, not feeling like it was safe to open yourself up to love. You almost hit the snooze button on love. It could have been overdeveloped, which would indicate somebody who's quite the flirt, has many a suitor, many a partner, and there's nothing wrong with that. But with this overabundance of Venus energy, you could have not leveraged it successfully. You could have broken a lot of hearts, okay? You could have not been very caring or compassionate about people's feelings. You could have been two-timing people. You could have essentially been making people fall in love with you just for sport, just for vanity, right? You could have been someone who was so attuned to the aesthetics of the situation and not necessarily the deeper value of it. And honestly, within a past lifetime, you could have been quite vain as well as it relates to your beauty. Your lifetime could have been quite shallow, just essentially looking for beauty. And again, there's nothing wrong with beauty, okay? But it could have been that was really what stagnated a lot of your growth, was wanting to look as beautiful as possible, but not necessarily doing the soulful work to match it. Also, Venus is money. So you could have just wanted more and more money, more stuff, more, and fallen into this hedonistic hamster wheel, essentially, because Venus is what feels good. So living a life of sensual delights and beauty, again, this all sounds great, right? But there was an excess of it. It was not tempered. In this lifetime, it's given you gifts. Typically, Venus bending individuals are quite beautiful. At least they're learning lessons around beauty, how to refine and use beauty. There can be lessons around money, right? How to refine it and excavate it. There can be lessons around love, certainly. And with Venus bending, you can find you get ensnared into these patterns. And it's deeply important that you change the pattern in love. Again, whether you were the heartbreaker or you were the heartbroken, maybe that's how you felt that Venus energy in past lifetimes, around constantly feeling heartbroken, going for the wrong people. This is an energy that asks you to take accountability with the people that you date and choose a different pattern. That's why squares are tricky. Whatever's not mastered, we repeat in the next lifetime. So with Venus, you are learning lessons as it relates to love. You're learning lessons as it relates to women, feminine qualities overall. Whether it's around women friends, it can be challenging. And again, whatever we don't master in this lifetime, the lesson repeats. So being conscious of certain karmic lessons that get reflected to you around women, truly feeling like, well, all women are like that. All women are evil. It's like taking accountability around what has been my role in these situations, as well as understanding there's nothing wrong with beauty, but with Venus squaring, like making sure to balance the beauty of the outside with beauty on the inside. And some of you, if you resonate more so with the underdeveloped lens, it's this energy around beauty is something that we can enhance, okay? I know oftentimes we feel like you either have it or you don't, but it's something we can enhance to feel confident, to feel good about ourselves. And so part of you are learning how to use your beauty as a tool to get what it is that you want. Use your attractiveness as a tool. Like I said, money issues can play out here. Whether it was in past lifetimes, never feeling that you had the resources in order to live a lovely life that you wanted, or living a life of so many sensual pursuits that there's almost a gluttonous response to it. Either way, with the energy of Venus, you are here to, yes, build a beautiful reality filled with beautiful things, understanding the beauty yourself, but using your resources to contribute to the bigger why. In past lifetimes, you lost the plot on the big why. You got overcome by greed and vanity. And in this lifetime, you can enjoy your life, you can enjoy your pursuit, but you cannot let it consume you as it did past lifetimes. So on this, the northern bending, this could be people who work in Venusian fields. They work in the beauty industry, they work in the fashion, they work in style, they work as designers, they work with women in some facility. They do their Venus work very externally, and that can mostly be the call around really wanting to use your beauty as a tool to get what it is that you want. That could be an energy around really building a luxurious life, working in a spa, being around luxury regularly without putting it on a pedestal, right? You could be known for your luxurious lifestyle, having Venus at the northern bending, really wanting to show people what's possible financially. Maybe you work in the financial industry of some sort, right? And it's about being able to dabble in these Venus arenas of love and beauty without letting it consume you, allowing it to feed that central mission of the North Node. As well as you could work with your lover or be known for your love life in some vicinity. You could be known for your creativity as well, your style in some sense, having Venus at the northern bending. If it's at the south bending, you are mostly here to learn about your own worth. Because when we talk about Venus, it's values. So you are here to understand your own personal values. You are here to be able to sacrifice your beauty or your values or your money to a greater cause of some sort. So maybe an altruistic type, somebody who raises money for different charities. Maybe somebody who is a classic beauty. It was fascinating doing research on this. Like a lot of really beautiful, people throughout history have this. So it's almost like when we talk about square south node, it's like it's bigger than them, right? So a lot of people whose likenesses have been repurposed and almost idolized have Venus at the southern bending because it's like bigger than them. That won't be the case for every single person, but there can be something about your beauty that is sort of idolized or to a grander scale than just you. You could use your money to contribute to a bigger why, or when it comes to love, your love experiences can be very karmic. They could be very spiritual in tone. If you have Mars bending the nodes, aka Mars square the north node, Mars square the south node, this reading is for you. And you in this lifetime are here to intentionally and mindfully chisel this Mars energy. And when it comes to planetary bendings, there can be a danger of going in excess of that planet or a danger of not leveraging that planet enough. So I'm going to talk you through both. Take what resonates, leave the rest. So underutilized Mars energy would be individuals within past incarnations. You did not advocate for yourself. You did not assert yourself. You did not stand up for yourself. You felt very powerless over your reality. You felt like life is just whatever people hand to you, and that's that, right? You did not feel like you could assert yourself or defend yourself. You could have felt like a punching bag in past lifetimes, right? Whether it was because of really harsh life experiences or just a lack of just confidence within your own self. Now, you also could have struggled with physicality as well, whether there's something within past lifetimes around being physically injured or simply not having a lot of energy or not really chiseling your body as a tool to get what it is that you want. There could have even been laziness issues or something of that nature. Now, if it was overutilized, this would be somebody who's ready to fight at any moment. So you too, in this lifetime, could experience a fight or flight energy. You could experience this energy where maybe how you cope with stuff is wanting to square up, like you have to show them how tough you are, right? You don't want them to see you sweat. You could feel like life is a win or a lose. Like if you're not winning, you're losing. Like compromise was not your thing in past lifetimes, and it's meant to be leveraged here. And so whether it was in excess, this Mars energy, or not enough, you are meant to essentially advocate for something bigger than yourself and use this Mars energy to feed into that North Node purpose. So when it comes to essentially using that Mars, you could advocate for a cause. Again, using that fighting energy for something bigger. You could be someone who uses your physical body to achieve an aim. So you could be someone like an Olympian or somebody like a bodybuilder, somebody who uses your physicality in order to get what you want, as well as a motivator. motivator, a fitness instructor, somebody who uses what's possible for you and what you have fought for to inspire others. You could be somebody in the military or something of that nature that has like kind of a fighting tone to it around protecting and defending, firefighter, police, anything of that nature. I can even see lawyer, honestly, with this energy of Mars around wanting to protect or defend. So when it comes to, if you identify with the underutilized sign, this would be able to fight, stand up and fight, assert for the causes you believe, assert yourself. Learn that you are not a victim of your reality. Like the energy of Mars, it asks us to rise above, okay? And it's like being the toughest person isn't the one who's like the yapping dog wanting to bite everybody's head off, but it's also not the cowering dog in the corner, right? It's like the energy of Mars, you're here to channel a healthy Mars expression around holding your ground. I don't know why I'm doing a dog analogy, but like just being that German Shepherd where it's like holding your ground, you're not all up in other people's business, but you're like, if you cross me, I will defend myself. I will assert myself. I will make known my boundaries, right? So part of the Mars is releasing the fight or flight around feeling like life is constantly a fight, but being ready. It's almost like being shrewd, being strategic around, I will protect myself if see fit. I will still enjoy myself and I won't see every single person as a threat or every single person as an enemy. But healthy Mars expression is being ready if you do need to protect or defend yourself. Now, the Mars at the northern bending will be those examples that I was giving. Somebody who leverages Mars within career. It's more external. They are the bodybuilders. They are the people who work with their physique in some way. They could work in the SW industry. They can be someone who's here to really go after what it is that they want, get what it is that they want, inspire others by getting what it is that they want and not settling for less. If Mars is at the southern bending, there is an energy around being a spiritual warrior, doing a lot of work as it relates to the spiritual plane, fighting for the causes that you hold dear when it relates to the spiritual plane. When it comes to Mars, you could feel called to donate your Mars to a greater cause. So something such as, what comes to mind is, like those 5Ks for different causes, like using your physicality there, as well as using your physical energy into something bigger. So maybe playing for a team sport or something where there's like a bigger cause, a bigger why, right? As well as with the energy of Mars, maybe it's just being that silent advocate. Maybe it's fighting for causes and not necessarily needing a lot of validation for it, but allowing yourself to feel powerful for yourself. And really with the energy of Mars bending, it's like part of your lessons around understanding how powerful you are and really chiseling that as a tool around using motivation to also protect yourself on the spiritual plane. If you see that you have Jupiter bending the nodes, so Jupiter squaring the north node, Jupiter squaring the south node, this reading is for you. So you are here to leverage this Jupiterian energy. And when it comes to mastering Jupiter, Jupiter is the planet of luck, abundance, and generosity. And you might be saying, Haley Comet, Jupiter is the grand benefic. How could it be a bad thing? Hear me out. Because yes, even benefics have a shadow side, okay? And you could have embodied that within a past iteration. Jupiter is about a belief system. So for some of you who overutilize this Jupiter energy within a past incarnation, you were a fanatic. You were so rooted around what it is that you believed in that you felt like everybody else needed to believe in it. You did not stand for anybody who had a different moral take than you. You could have been somebody like a priest or preacher or somebody who was like, everybody needs to believe in this, right? There wasn't a lot of tolerance for people who had belief systems other than yours. There also could have been a very optimistic energy that wasn't very grounded, having big grandiose dreams and never doing anything about it, getting people all excited, filling them up with hot air, and then just the dream disappearing before its eyes. Alternately, you could identify with this being on the underutilized. Maybe you did not chisel your Jupiter energy within a past incarnation. This would describe someone who failed to cultivate a higher sense of meaning, right? Doing all the right things, but not attuning to what does this mean for me? You could have stayed in your comfort zone in regards to travel, like never leaving your comfort zone, like staying close to your hometown because that was what was safe. You could have struggled to believe in life, believe in yourself. You could have struggled around being generous. You could have been quite stingy, quite Scroogey. And in this lifetime, it's about leveraging Jupiter. But the over excess of Jupiter would be somebody who gives away all of their possessions, or somebody who has so much wanderlust that they don't even put down roots. Somebody who, as I highlighted, has these belief systems that they don't tolerate people whose belief systems are different than theirs. It can be somebody who is so optimistic that they refuse to deal with reality, versus underutilization would be so realistic that they forget to dream. How you are meant to chisel this energy of Jupiter within this lifetime is around healthy optimism. optimism, okay? Expecting the best, allowing yourself to move in the direction of what inspires you, of believing that life can be good, that it can be full of meaning, around remembering the why you do what it is that you do, ensuring that meaning is bolstered with what it is that you do, allowing yourself to also pull in spirituality into your life purpose. Like, again, the religious fanatic side, that is a potential danger here, but you are meant to leverage this Jupiter. So some of you are spiritual leaders, you're meant to work with religion or at least chisel it for yourself. Something around Jupiter is important, but also balancing it, being tolerant of people's perspectives other than yours. Also with the energy of Jupiter, healthy exploration, traveling, higher learning, being open to expand your world, but also being conscious that expanding your world takes hard work to sustain it, right? We can't just be on vacation 365 days a year, right? We can't just be on retreats all the time. We need integration into our life. So part of leveraging this is around being open to expansion, but also being able to do the work to integrate this desire for spirituality and growth that you are craving in this lifetime. If you have it on the north bending, this could signal essentially working with your Jupiter energy in a very external way. So you could work as a preacher, as I highlighted. You could work as a priest. You could work as a travel agent. You could work with people from foreign countries. That can be great learning experiences for you. Some of you could even, with this Jupiter energy, spiritual leaders, as I highlighted, professors, absolutely, lawyers, something around morals, again, could be essential to your north node. So again, using vision to continue to feed that north node. If you have it on the southern bending, part of your mission is to be more generous as it relates to collective. You can be quite an altruist. You could internally be working through what it means to have faith in the universe, what it means to cultivate a personal spirituality, and to feel connected to something bigger than yourself. If you see that you have Saturn bending the nodes, so Saturn squaring the north node, Saturn squaring the south node, this reading is for you. You are here to leverage this energy of Saturn, which is around duty and discipline and responsibility and time, truly. So as it relates to all essentially nodal squares, nodal benders, this could have been utilized in past incarnations. Not enough or too much. Okay, so I'm going to chat through both, take what works and leave the rest. Some of you within past lifetimes ignored the rules. You thought you could outrun time. You thought you could outrun rules. You thought you could outrun logic. There can be a detesting in this lifetime around rules of any sort, authority of any sort, anybody who tries to tell you what to do, right? You could have struggled around building, like you could have avoided your responsibilities. You could have avoided society. Some of you overdid the Saturn energy where you were so rigid, you were so particular, you were so strict, you were so authoritarian, you didn't allow room to pivot, to grow. When you have Saturn bending, there is something around responsibility that is important to leverage, and it's around being willing to really do the work. Like, that's the energy of Saturn. When you have Saturn bending, part of your karma is around you physically building the dream, around you physically building your world. But there's a delicate balance here because it's around having the tenacity and the diligence to show up day in, day out, because that's the energy of Saturn, delayed gratification, without getting too rigid in the process. So you are here to essentially leverage this energy of Saturn. Part of your duty in this lifetime is to understand the effects of karma. Like I said, in past lifetimes, you tried to outrun your karma. You thought you could do bad things and get away with it. In this lifetime, every move you take has a heavy karmic implication. You're karma's little angel. And this is beautiful because you can find when someone does wrong towards you, they get theirs very quickly. But on the shadow side, when you step out of integrity, you might feel the external ramifications very quickly. You are here to understand cause and effect. The cause around if you work towards something, you will get it. And with the energy of Saturn, using healthy commitment, using healthy discipline, using healthy diligence to build what it is that you want, right? And really being able to reap what it is that you sow. With the energy of Saturn, some of your karma could be playing out when it comes to business, when it comes to work, when it comes to the legacy that you want to build. And with this energy of Saturn, like again, there was something within past lifetimes, whether it was underutilized and you did not regard the rules at all, or overutilized where the rules were everything. Your lifetime in this lifetime is a meeting in the middle. It's around building your legacy, building your dreams brick by brick, but also understanding long-standing things sometimes need to be redone, right? So sometimes do not stand the test of time. So a lot of times, especially if you have Saturn north bending, you're here to be a business person, okay? You're here to create something that outlives you. You're here to create legacy, okay? You're here to set an example. You're here to be somebody who works hard and is able to reap the rewards for it, or someone who strives to be upstanding, an upstanding citizen, to belong to rules and regulation, has a healthy appreciation of it. So at the north bending, it could signal somebody who is a business person, right? Build something of value, somebody who is a rule enforcer in some way, somebody who essentially rights the karmic misjudgments within this lifetime, right? On the south bending, you are essentially here to cultivate spiritual discipline, right? To be able to develop yourself as the most highly evolved soul as possible, and being able to use the Saturn energy to be able to give to a higher cause. So maybe this gives energy of like anonymously donating a wing to a church, or anonymously donating a wing to your school, like causes that you believe in, things that you're like, this is my legacy, this is the test of time, but not needing to personally get validation for it. Or also just with the energy of Saturn, rectifying these Saturn themes around having healthy rules and understanding rules don't have to be demonized. Like there can be energies of past lifetime with the Saturn energy around feeling like rules are evil, rules are bad, tradition is bad. And it's like, it's a healthy balance in this lifetime. Like again, when it comes to rules, rules can help us excavate all that we can be. It can build discipline. It can keep a society together. It can keep other people together, right? So it's understanding this balance around being able to channel and enforce healthy rules with ourselves, healthy boundaries, right? Healthy understanding of cause and effect of our actions, while also being open to truly build our big picture legacy by not being overly attached to how things are and they must always be this way. So healthily leveraging that Saturn energy. So if you see that you have Chiron bending the nodes, also known as squaring the nodes, squaring the north node, squaring the south node, nodal benders, it all means the same thing. This reading is for you. And I chose to do Chiron simply because I love Chiron. It's the only comet that I'm doing. But when it comes to having Chiron bending, there is something around your healing journey that is important for you to integrate within this lifetime. Whether it is something that is felt internally or something that is echoed out within your life externally, there is something important within this Comet of the wounded healer. So let's talk about Chiron. Chiron is where it is that we have been wounded and how we alchemize that into a personal sense of strength. And if you have Chiron bending, your past lifetimes were defined one of two ways, right? Either underutilized this Chiron energy or overutilized it. Underutilized it, you could have had fears around being vulnerable. You acted like everything was fine. You acted like everything was fine. Your issues were not other people's business. You hid your deficiencies. You hid your inadequacy. You just basically puffed up like, I'm fine, I'm perfect, above and beyond to try to convince everybody, I'm perfect, don't worry about me, don't worry about me. If you overutilize Chiron, there was an energy around feeling like a victim of your circumstance. And with this energy of Chiron around allowing your wounds, where it was that you considered yourself inadequate, to consume you and basically be the reason that you pointed to around, that's why I can't move forward in life, is because of these flaws, because of these wounds, because of these deficiencies. And I find it important to mention to you the story of Chiron. Like Chiron, the centaur, had a lot of challenges within life, but he did not allow them to define him, right? Like he had a really messed up birth story. Really messed up birth story, and because he was half and half human, half centaur, he was ostracized. He was lonely. He had every reason to be jaded, but he didn't. He allowed himself to be even more loving, even more giving. He was an amazing teacher, an amazing astrologer, an amazing doctor. Like he knew what it felt like to suffer. So he essentially didn't want anybody else to feel like that ever. And it can be hard to be wounded and to feel like you've been done so bad by humanity, but to still love, to still be soft, to still be vulnerable, that's hard. And I will let you know, in past lifetimes, you either made your wounds the butt of every reason why you could not progress in life. I can't progress in life because of this, because of these people. It made me feel left out. Again, allowing that wound of where you felt not enough to define your entire life, where you used it as a essentially excuse why you couldn't move forward. So it's almost like that wound, it's like you punctured yourself over and over because it hurt the first time when it happened, but you would constantly re-puncture yourself around, well, I couldn't ever because I'm inadequate in this way. It was like, you didn't allow the healing process to take place because you were constantly puncturing your own wound by making it the core component of your life. Everything boiled down to it. if you're on the overutilization of the Chiron side. And this lifetime, you are meant to use these gifts of vulnerability, of healing, in order to inform your mission. Let's also talk about the underutilization of Chiron energy. Chiron was an inspirational figure because he shows what's possible, right? He showed that you don't have to let bitterness and hatred consume you. Like if you've ever had somebody who, despite all of their challenges, have been able to rise above, that is so inspiring. And Chiron's very inspiring in that lens. It shows that I overcame this and it's possible for you too. And the energy of Chiron is to be vulnerable, right? And it's to also be open to our healing as well as other people's healing. I'll just say right now, my Chiron nodal benders, you guys are healers. Whether or not you leverage this is up to you. I will say sometimes there can be a resistance to our nodal benders, especially if you're in the underutilized where you didn't want to see the deficiencies in others, you didn't want to see the deficiencies in yourself. You just thought everybody should toughen up. Or you were overly in that Chiron energy where you're like, I can never toughen up because I'm perpetually flawed. Either way, it's around understanding. Yes, the wound can teach you something. So in this lifetime, look at your Chiron placement, okay? That wound is trying to teach you something. And it's the mark of earned empathy. Again, the particular magic of a soul who has been through that particular struggle and can reach you because of it. So whether you use to channel this in a very physical way, a nurse, a doctor, you could be someone like a therapist who promotes healing that way. You could be someone like an astrologer. Chiron was an astrologer. But you are meant to leverage this Chiron gift around understanding your struggles are not a weakness. And if anything, it can be a marker of where you are meant to serve in some way, and allowing yourself to both healthfully acknowledge the wound and allow it to heal, right? Allowing the wisdom that it's given you and allowing that wound to let the light in so that you can continue to serve and help other people. Because when we can alchemize something that was horrible about our life, you know, we take away the sting of it. We take it off the pedestal of why everything in our life is not right or is not how we want it to be. We disempower it in a sense. We allow it to be alchemized in the source of healing. So I will say a lot of you guys are meant to be healers in some way, and it takes going through. Can't go over it, okay? You can't go around it. You gotta go through it with Chiron. So that pain is the portal to your life purpose. And I know that's not easy. A Chironian's journey never is. But it is your duty, and pulling into that North Node, not, you know, overly babying yourself for what you've gone through. Again, not allowing it to define you by being like, this is all that it is, but allowing yourself to both process, feel, be vulnerable. That can be inspiring for other people. While also taking accountability around healing, being that healer for others, being inspiring for others. So if Chiron is at the North bending, this would describe essentially the soul that I was chatting with you about, the doctor, the nurse, the therapist, somebody who uses their Chiron in a very external way. They could find that they're like the unofficial therapist within their friend group. People are constantly coming up to them in need of help. If you have Chiron in the southern bending, there can be something about your journey that is inspiring to a bigger level or inspiring to the collective. There can be a spiritual goal that you hit as it relates to that Chiron. Honestly, your dark night of the soul could have really triggered your spiritual journey, or something about that pain allowed you to spiritually progress in some way. As well as sometimes when it comes to Chiron energy, there could be an energy around, I got so hurt and they never had anything bad happen to them. I just want you to know, with Chiron, you know, southern bending, they will get theirs, okay? Them getting theirs has nothing to do with you. Just focus on doing your work, allowing the wisdom of what's coming through with your Chiron story to take place. If you have Uranus at the bendings, aka Uranus square North Node, Uranus square South Node, this reading is for you. In this lifetime, it's important for you to leverage this Uranus energy of eccentricity and novelty ethically. And let me tell you how this could have played out within past lives. You did not chisel this Uranus energy responsibly in a past life. Whether you underutilized it and you were not open to new things, you were not open to novelty whatsoever, you hid your weirdness, you hid your eccentricity, you went along with the way that things were, or you were really chaotic, really eccentric, all over the place, a rebel without a cause. Either way, Uranus energy is meant for you to be chiseled, but in a grounded way, okay? Because I would argue with this energy of Uranus, you are meant to essentially shake things up. You are a mold breaker in some lens. And sometimes when I talk to Uranians, it can be frustrating because you can feel like you are somewhat ahead of society. Like you can feel like you're waiting for humanity to catch up. Like, I'm here, I see the vision, I see what it is that we can be. Can you guys keep up already? And with the energy of Uranus, you guys can be the visionaries, like the people who dare to see things differently and do things differently, right? And allowing that desire for disruption to be grounded. Because in past lifetimes, it could have been this Uranus energy just around anarchy and just wanting to shake things up just for their own sake. And this lifetime, it's like, yes, your North Node purpose will require you to think outside the box. It will require you to disrupt. It'll require you at sometimes to feel like society's weirdo, right? Because oftentimes what we consider a weirdo in a couple of generations, we consider a genius, right? The people who are before their time are always considered weirdos. And that's like the energy that you're encapsulating in this lifetime. But it's very important that you're making this right sort of disruptions to really springboard us into the future. Because if you resonate more with the underutilized energy where you hid your differences, maybe you just felt different. You felt like a freak. You felt like a weirdo. You didn't fit in with society. And maybe this Uranus energy is around getting more comfortable to let your freak flag fly, right? Because when you are fully yourself, you free the space for other people to be fully themselves. And that's part of what you're chiseling with this Uranus bending. If you have Uranus and the northern bending, you are meant to essentially here to be a rebel in some way or be a visionary. Whether you invent something fundamental, whether you protest for causes that springboard us into the future, whether you just have your own unique style that frees up other people to be able to do their own thing, there's something around your desire for rebellion and your desire to change that echoes very externally. So whether you work in politics trying to create innovation, you work in technology, you work in AI, you work with things that are of the future, you are taking us into the future, right? And if it's at the southern bending, you are here to rectify your battle around what is weird or different within yourself. Okay, like you could have struggled with Uranus at the southern bending around understanding the ways that you are different and really being able to unlearn your desires to conform. You could even have this craving around being able to want to innovate something or empower people from a more anonymous pursuit or something of the nature. Or spiritually, your path could look very different to others. You could have different spiritual beliefs than others. And part of your journey is around understanding that's okay. You're different than other people and that's okay. You have Uranus bending. You are literally here to springboard us into the future. And to do that, it takes people who dare to think differently while also ensuring that you are grounded in reality so that it's not this chaotic energy of the excessive side of Uranus. If you have Neptune as your nodal bender, so Neptune squaring the North Node, Neptune squaring the South Node, Neptune bending the nodes, it all means the same thing. Here's what it means if you spot it within your natal chart. You mismanage Neptune energy within a past life. You could have mismanaged it by not leveraging it enough or leveraging it too much. I'll take you down two different avenues. Take what resonates for you. You could have found it very hard to be able to dream, to be able to envision, to be able to get lost in something bigger than yourself. There could have been certain resistances around being so rational, so grounded how things are that you didn't want to consider anything beyond. You could have found it very hard to have faith, to believe in something bigger, to even trust your intuition. Some of you overindulged in this Neptune energy. You were so in spirit that you neglected the physical. You could have looked for this otherworldly sense through substances, getting lost into substances, as well as indulging in fantasies and delusions and things that were not real. So much so that a lot of your life was lived in your own little world, your own little plane. And I will tell you, having Neptune squaring, you are meant to be some sort of visionary. You are meant to use your intuitive psychic abilities to help the collective in some fashion. And if you're somebody and you're like an accountant and you're like, Haley, Comet, what are you talking about? Like, notice where it is that you leverage this Neptune energy, because Neptune is also around being selfless, being compassionate. Maybe you're an accountant, but people come into your office all the time and, tell you about their woes and their money problems, and you have this Neptune energy, so you're able to find this higher perspective of it. Like, again, observing the many ways this ricochets out. Now, some of you will work as astrologers, oracle card readers, tarot readers. You are essentially here to help people attune to the bigger perspective. I also want to bring to the surface, Neptune squares are the magic makers. Whether you literally work in divination or things of that nature, or you work in photography, you work in directing, you work in Hollywood, silver screen, that's all Neptune energy. It's all about the fantasy, right, of what it is that we're creating. It's about the dreams. You could work with the arts. And with this energy of Neptune, it's important that you embolden your own world while staying grounded in this one. It was not managed in a past lifetime. You were either so in this one that you forgot to dream, you forgot to connect to a bigger perspective, or you were just lost in your own world, lost in a bottle of wine, totally disillusioned. You're here to find the balance. And part of you are meant to take people into a different world. Again, look at your North Node to get more clues around where you're leveraging this Neptune energy, because it could play out within charity. It could play out within the arts, as I highlighted. It could play out within having a spiritual calling of some sort that you're pulling in, right? So it's important to understand your path in this lifetime is to be able to allow a healthy usage of intuition, healthy usage of feeling connected to something bigger, healthy usage around escaping from reality every so often, because we need it. Now let's get more nuance. If it's at the North bending, then you're working with Neptune one of those external ways. And I'm so sorry I keep giving career examples. It's just helpful. I'm not saying you literally have to work with the planet that you have North bending. It's just more so external, and career is a helpful way to communicate it. But with the energy of Neptune, you could be a photographer, you could take people to different worlds, you could be a poet, you could be a mystic, you could be a divinator, okay? And you're meant to really pull it into that North node. If you have Neptune at the Southern bending, you're a very spiritual soul, you're very evolved, you're an old soul, you're here to learn some lessons and tie up some stuff. And part of your intuitive gifts, you may have to give to the collective, right? You may have to use your gifts for dream interpretation, or your gifts for tarot or astrology, or whatever you use to divinate. There might be something that you sacrifice to the collective in some way, or that you give to the collective in some way, or that you spiritually tap into within yourself, within your growth. And our final planet for this video, if you see that you have Pluto squaring the nodes, bending the nodes, squaring the North node, squaring the South node, this reading is for you. You are here to learn about healthy power and healthy reinvention. Whether it was overutilized or underutilized in prior incarnations, you are here to learn the lessons of Pluto. So underutilized Pluto would be somebody who feels very powerless, who siphons their power away. There could have been an energy around clinging to what was, even if you knew that you were worthy of something more, like being very scared of a new start, being very scared of change. On the other side, with Pluto in overabundance, you could have been somebody who was very powerful and did not use that power ethically. When we talk about Pluto bending, okay, we're talking about power, leveraging it ethically, okay? And, you know, with this energy of overutilization of Pluto within past lifetimes, you could have been someone like a dictator who lorded your power over people. You could have been someone who used your power to destroy, right? You could have been somebody who used your power to manipulate and influence, right? And with this energy of Pluto, you are here to be a powerful soul, but it's important that the desire for power does not consume you, because Pluto can easily get dark. This can signal corruption, right? Somebody who let the power get to their head, who wanted a fresh start so much that they're willing to destroy everything. And here's the thing, it's an interesting balance, because you are here to be powerful, but be powerful for the right reasons. You are here to be able to reinvent, but not be destructive. Okay, so it's an interesting balance to navigate, but with this energy of Pluto, first things first, you need to understand you are a powerful person, and as it relates to your North Node purpose, leveraging that power ethically. Because Pluto can easily descend into an obsessive, at all cost energy, and so can North Node. So you could be so hungry for that North Node that this Pluto energy pulls in, and you're like, whatever it takes, whoever I need to trample over to get what it is that I want, I'll do it. Like the energy of Pluto, true power is essentially being able to hold your own without hurting other individuals, right? It's being able to really leverage this power ethically, as well as understanding there might be something within your North Node that you need to essentially reinvent, that you need to rebirth, you need to dig deep, you need to be resilient. So again, it's not crumbling at the first sign of any sort of change, wanting to cling to what was. The energy of Pluto, it promises strength if we are willing to reinvent ourselves. But it's also not destroying everything and everything in this desire for power around, oh, if this isn't working right away, burn it down. I'm going somewhere different. Like, again, Pluto will ask you to reinvent. It will ask you to essentially rebirth yourself, but being mindful of your tendency to be overly self-destructive. Some of you might feel that when it comes to you, whether you start writing something, then you just like crumble it up right away, or you're very harsh on yourself, or you've indulged in self self-destructive tendencies. You are here to build powerfully. Yes, sometimes you will have to walk away when it's time to reinvent yourself, when it's time to rebuild, and you have the resilience to do so. But it's also understanding true power is being able to rise up, right? Rise up rather than give up. So if you have Pluto at the north bending, you could be a politician. You could be somebody in power. You could be a business leader of some sort. You could be somebody who is a divorce lawyer, somebody who meets people in crisis situations, like it shows up very externally, or you could just find within your external reality, people are always coming to you when they're like in the midst of crisis of some sort. You could be dealing with crisis situations as it relates to your north node. If you have Pluto at the south bending, you are here to confront your fears of change, your fears around clinging to what was, your fears around power. You're here to be a spiritual leader. You're here to be powerful in a more spiritual way and to really leverage this energy of Pluto without allowing it to be this overt, corrupt energy. So my love, such a fun video. I hope you were able to tune into my passion for this topic because I could talk about North Node all day and night. I am a certified North Node nerd. So if you are a North Node nerd as well, let me know in the comments. If you have any requests, please let me know. I'm making my way through my series and it feels really good to have some space with my content calendar. So I'd love to hear, what would you like to hear from me? What are you interested in diving deeper into? My Instagram handle is @HaleyCommonAstrology. My TikTok is the same. I would so love to connect with you over there. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.